Welcome aboard, everybody. It's Captain D. We're in the Black Hawk. We're going to fly from Prosser, Washington to Puyallup, Washington and do some instrument training because it's a cloudy day out there. I've got the aircraft started, got the flight plan programmed in. We are online, no ATC as of yet, but they may show up. So for now we're squawking and talking VFR, but we have filed an IFR flight plan because of the weather. Flight plan today is depart Prosser, direct Sund, Sierra Uniform November Echo Delta to Victor 4, Ratty, Victor 187, direct to Kilo Papa Lima Uniform. Alright, landing lights are on, strobes are on, beacons on, panel lights are on, check. We are going to turn on the anti-ice because we will probably pick up some icing. Alright, plenty of fuel on board. 3,238 pounds of fuel. All the gauges are in the green. Passengers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. Looks like they're all buckled in here. Alright. Please prepare for takeoff. Prosser traffic, Black Hawk helicopter, taxiing runway 25, IFR departure to the west, Prosser. Alright, on the runway, a couple of checks. Stability augmentation systems on. Autopilot altitude selector is set. Inverters are on. Caution lights are clear. Anti-ice is on as needed. Directional gyro checks. Tune in the Yakima VOR here. One 6.0 for our backup. There we go. Alright, should we do a rolling takeoff or should we just hit the air? Yeah, let's do a rolling takeoff. .25 knots. Gets a little harder. Prosser traffic, Black Hawk helicopter departed runway 25, turning out to the west. Prosser. Alright, climbing 800 feet a minute. We're going to go to 12,000. Alright, so as you can see, there's a little bit of moisture in the clouds up there. So we're going to have to watch out for icing. That's why we have our icing systems ready to go. But as we traverse further down our flight path here, it gets worse as we're coming into our destination. But by then we should be at lower altitudes where it's probably just going to be the forecasted rain. Few at 800, few at 900. Alright, we're climbing at about 800 feet a minute. We're only doing about 100 knots over the ground, using about 55% torque. I'm going to bump that up to about 70. That should give us a climb of about 130 knots. $4,800. And right now we're getting 3 knots directly off the nose. Alright, passing sun, we're going to make a 5-degree turn to the right. And we are direct Yakima. We will be well above their airspace by the time we get there. So you guys let me know in the comments if you want me to leave the GTN up for the whole flight or back and forth, or what your guys' opinion is. I obviously have it on a different screen so it doesn't interfere with the looking out the windows like it does when you're watching the video. We'll go ahead and take it off right now. Alright, so just past 6,000, coming up on 6,500. It's about a 40-minute flight once we get up into cruise. Right now we have an estimated time en route of 52 minutes and 40 seconds, but that will obviously increase once we're reached our cruising speed. As you climb in altitude, your torque reduces, so you add power to keep it at your desired setting. I prefer to climb in the Black Hawk at about 70% torque, between 120 and 130 knots, and between 600 and 800 feet a minute. That's really just my personal preference. Minimum safe altitude gets up to about 8.5 along our route of flight, so we've got lots of room to adjust if we need to. Headwinds increase to about 6 knots. 127 over the ground. And we're on instruments. Flying on instruments in a helicopter is a whole lot easier with an autopilot. But basically we're making sure that we're level with our horizon, we're not in any kind of bank, and we're on course because our needle is centered. And then we just watch our speeds and altitudes. And we're getting a caution light, which I'm probably sure is going to say ice detected. Yep. Alright, all of our de-icing systems are on. Ice detect light is off. Temperature's still a little high. We're going to have to watch that. Alright, we are coming up on 12. Alright, that temperature's gone down a little bit. Alright, there's 12,000. We're running at about 65-70% torque, getting 136 knots and climbing, 10 knots off the nose, 90 miles to go, 40 minutes estimated time en route. We're about 3.5 miles from the Yakima VOR. So far, so good. Hope everybody's having a great day. I know times are a little weird out there with everybody staying home and all, but gives you time to catch up on your YouTube videos. I'm hoping to put out videos a little bit more frequently now with this extra free time, so stay tuned for future flights. I was hoping that we would get a nice view of the mountain range and Mount Rainier as we passed over, but it looks like everything's just going to be cloudy. At higher altitudes, helicopters don't perform as well. You only get minimal lift capacity as well as torque from your engines at this altitude. So you have to be careful because there's not a lot of room to play. If you get yourself in trouble where you need a whole lot of power, that power is just not available. If something happens here, what we would do is basically auto rotate down below the clouds and find a place to put it. I don't really recommend trying to turn to a specific airport or glide, because helicopters don't glide the way traditional fixed-wing aircraft do. Yes, you can get some glide out of a helicopter, but it's nothing like the distance you get out of a 172 at 10,000 feet. That temperature's starting to rise again, so we're going to back off on the torque until everything's green, and that leaves us at about 50%, which in these conditions is going to give us probably 125, 130 knots over the ground. But we don't want to end up with an engine fire. So unlike traditional aircraft that perform better at higher altitudes like jets and turboprops, helicopters perform better at the lower altitudes, even though they're using a jet turbine engine to power the rotor assembly. But because we're passing a mountain range on a cloudy day where visibility is an issue, we need to make sure that we're above it. Minimum safe vectoring altitude where we're at right now, according to the helicopter charts, is 6,500. But as you can see, it increases to 8,300 as you get into the mountain range. And then even closer to Mount Rainier over here, it goes all the way to 14,800. So unless the clouds clear up around Ratty, we're not going to get much of a view of Mount Rainier. Oh, we might get a peek of the mountain here. One little cloud's got to be in the way. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you look out the left side of the cockpit, you will get your probably one and only view of Mount Rainier. Once we clear the mountain range, we will begin our descent. Alright, at Ratty, we're going to turn to heading 281 degrees and head to Mountain. And we're going to go direct Arwell, which is the first fix on the approach. At Arwell, we want to be at 3,600 feet. And then for the final approach fix at Banfo, we want to be at 2,400. Alright, 2,400 at Arwell. We're descending through 8,000 at about 900 feet a minute. I'll increase the rate of descent here once we clear some terrain. Pierce County traffic, Black Hawk helicopter on the RNAV approach for runway 35, direct Arwell, descending 2,400 feet, 22 miles out, full stop, Pierce County. Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure your seatbelts are fastened as we start our approach into Pierce County. Should have you on the ground in about 10 minutes. Visibility does kind of suck down here. Out towards the airport looks like it gets a little worse. Pierce County traffic, Black Hawk helicopter turning final, runway 35, full stop, Pierce County. Right on track for the altitude, right on the line for the glide path. The approach is armed. Passengers have their seatbelts on. Well, thanks for riding along. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please remember to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next Black Hawk video. It'll be a helicopter tour of the Seattle skyline. Until then, see you later.